I'm John Billingsley, and you are listening to Beyond Track Podcast.
What are some thoughts of yours towards the whole, like, is Star Trek getting too woke?
The idea that a show that exists to push the boundaries in terms of what is acceptable and what it should be like just part of our human condition, which is, everybody on the fucking ship, as long as you're nice. To me, it's like you can't be too woke.
Two Vicks, what are you tearing into?
Why is our video so choppy?
It should not be, but what were you guys just talking about?
We're just talking about a DC comic that's a crossover between Star Trek and, like, the Green Lantern.
Oh, really?
It's pretty cool.
The impossible crossovers.
It's called the Impossible Crossovers.
No, that's just what I'm calling it.
It's called the Spectrum War.
Oh, gotcha. Well,
there's an older one too, though, called Legion of Superheroes, which is a Star Trek, like Kirk and McCoy and Spock with like the League of Heroes.
Oh, I need to get back into reading comics. I really haven't read comics much lately. Have you guys?
Nope.
Not recently.
There's like a wiki for everything now. So if I ever need to catch up on anything, I just go to the wiki for that character, and I'm like, okay, what's new? All right, I am informed.
Well, you like being informed.
As far as video goes, Dag looks great when I see his stream. Big J, yours looks really low res, like 480 sub P kind of thing.
It's probably because of my background.
I don't think so. It's not just your background. It's like you.
So for everybody watching, which is me, I see everybody here, and everybody looks clear to me.
Yeah? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, good. Well, let's do this. I would have to tell you guys Dag, you want to introduce us all first? You're going to have that stuck in my head now.
Sorry. There's a Knight Rider thing happening during the day when I'm at work, and I'm just like, oh, Knight Rider, that was so cool. Hey, everybody, welcome to Beyond Trek Podcast. This is your host, Dag. With me in the shop, I've got Renzo and Big J, and we're here to talk to you about this guy right here, Kayshon, with his eyes open. Lower Deck Season 2, Episode 2. Probably one of the fattest episodes, packed with all kinds of references. I don't even want to talk about the beginning. I just want to go straight to that museum.
Yeah.
No. We'll have our Easter egg sandwich, but we also need to discuss the plot that's going on around it.
Yeah.
So Kayshon shows up, and we get to this museum, and there's a lot of stuff at this museum.
Dag is ready to jump right in, and may I say before we get going that this episode is what I was waiting for this season. I don't know what episode 1 was all about. I just really didn't care too much for it, and I don't know if it's just because as a character, Ransom is kind of two-dimensional, but I just felt that the first episode this season was kind of boring. Really? Am I alone on that?
I don't agree. I liked the first episode quite a bit. I love this theme of the first episode of the first season. The first episode of the second season involves Ransom going crazy and almost killing everyone. I hope that continues. I love that kind of theming for things. Next season, something new. Season up, give it to me. I'm here for it. I thought that the build up for last episode was great. Sorry, I missed the review with you guys, but I quite enjoyed that first episode personally.
We were missing you,
but I can't say that I like this one more than the first.
Okay. Wow, that surprises me because I thought this one was much better than the first episode. But so let's get into it. I definitely want to talk about this because we're going to be talking about this first scene probably the whole night. And
so let's talk about Sonic Showers.
Oh, and real quick, later on before I forget, we're going to let's see. I hope this music doesn't start playing. Okay. Just plug my phone in for our Beyond Trek podcast hotline if we want to have any of our listeners or viewers call in while we're doing our live stream tonight. So let's dive into it.
In addition to that, spoiler freaking alert, because we're going to do all things of everything about this episode. If you haven't seen it before, too bad. Here we go.
Also expect spoilers for episodes out of TNG, out of Voyage.
Yeah,
They're going to
pretty
be
much-
spoilers for like everything.
Yeah, this episode was so packed with resources of any kind that if you haven't watched Star Trek before, you're probably going to get through every season of, or at least one season a piece for everything that's in this episode.
It would be hard to even tell you what to have watched because there's so much. There's so much that they put in with some of these references.
Yeah.
So let's start with the opening. Obviously, we've got this opening where we find out that Jet's joining Beta Shift, and in doing so, it's time to take the showers. They hit the sonic showers. Everything's appropriately blurred, and we get a little rivalry between Jet and Mariner that manifests in changing the temperature or settings of the sonic shower, resulting in everybody leaving, and Jet and Mariner's nose is bleeding.
You know what that scene reminded me of? Starship Troopers. Yes, Starship Troopers.
Yeah, I think it's a good intentional reference to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do have a question.
Okay.
It's a sonic shower, right?
Right.
So you don't get wet, right?
Right.
Why do I need a towel?
Maybe you sweat.
Maybe it's for the nosebleed.
Also, the concept of modesty still exists.
But that is a very,
if
very
you're
good
a Betazoid,
question.
Not if you're Betazoid, that's true.
You
Or
could wear a
Delta.
robe. You could wear a robe and have the same exact effect because you don't need a towel.
They don't get.
I didn't
bedrooms.
even-
You think they get robes?
No, but
All
you're
right.
right. Why would you have a towel for a sonic shower?
I still think it's probably like things like sweating, right? Like if it has some sort of degree of like temperature settings that like how you feel it, you're gonna sweat if it's hot, right? So you're gonna sweat so you can wipe yourself off afterwards with a towel.
Right. Well, I mean, I take warmish showers, and they're not like I don't sweat.
Probably just don't notice because you're rinsing yourself off with water.
That's possible.
Try doing a hot, like a sauna, like a dry sauna, and then come out of it.
Like a Turkish bath.
Sure.
Do one of those.
I mean, we know the settings of these things is strong enough to clean, industrialized skunk off of a building and cause the last week's episode. All right. So that results in the credits, and then we get to the main mission, where apparently there is now like a cosmically recognized organization or guild of collectors, much like Kivas Fajo, the Zybalian trader seen in Star Trek Season 4 episode The Most Toys. You remember that he kidnapped Data, and we talk about it on the bridge in about 5 seconds. We go through the hallways of this place. There's a whole bunch of stuff in these hallways, but let's not talk about what we see right now. Let's go to the bridge of the USS Cerritos, where they're hailed by, looks like somebody from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yep.
He does.
Particularly
the
Davy Jones.
Davy Jones. Yes. Good catch.
Basically, he's here to claim rights over the salvage, but Starfleet apparently has an agreement with them that they will make sure that any traps or bad things are disposed of or disassembled beforehand. So that leads us into, the main story of the episode. They agree to do all that with some shenanigans. Miggly Mo, last seen last season, is sitting to the captain's left, much like a counselor should be.
I swear to God, the next person that says shenanigans, I'll pistol whip. Remember Super Troopers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Never mind. Sorry.
We get a new chief of security, the titular Kayshon. I'm going to say that word a lot. Titular. It's like sartorial, just words that you don't get to say frequently.
Feels good in the mouth. Good mouth feel.
Yeah, like crisp. That's like the best word ever. It just starts in the back of your throat and ends right on the tip of your lips. It's so great.
I like how Renzo just said it feels good in the mouth.
Mm-hmm. It's all about the mouth feel, right? Like it's comforting. Right. It's good.
Okay.
But no, so there's Kayshon, and he's introduced as being the first Tamarian officer in Starfleet.
Just much like another first security officer that was Worf. Also has the Baldric.
I love the Baldric with the knife in it.
Yeah. That's their ceremonial dagger that they used frequently in the TNG fifth season episode Darmok.
So why would they? Why would I know it's probably the custom of them having that dagger, but doesn't it seem just a little pushing the regulation uniform? I know that the sash Worf had that, and the Bajorans have their earring thing, but he's carrying. Well, he's just carrying a weapon at all times.
Ceremonial. So I mean,
Okay.
Sikhs in the real world, right, have like daggers that they carry as part of their religion.
Right.
It has a name, and I'm not going to try and pronounce it because I'll get it wrong. But Sikhs carry a dagger as part of their religion. In the Canadian military, they're allowed to carry it on their person when deployed in combat and when not, because it's just a part of their religious like cultural garb. Same
Right.
thing here, I assume, right? Like Starfleet's progressive; they're not going to care. And if it's it's probably something that's captain's discretion too, right? So like,
Yes.
the same way Picard or Riker had a say on whether Ro could have her earring on, there's probably some say that Freeman has with regards to the dagger here.
Right, because Riker gave Ro all kinds of trouble for hers, but
It's a very out of character thing to do for Riker in that episode, but
Agreed.
but this was Ensign Ro we're talking about. She had a very bad rap, so
she was in
Yeah.
8 episodes and we love her.
Yep.
No, but she came into the bad reputation, so trying to bust her balls a little bit and trying to like put
Yeah.
her on the
Dear
defensive
audience,
was probably
you
a
need
good
to know
idea.
that we don't like this person.
Yes.
Sorry, I digress.
Renzo, your explanation was a lot better than mine about that thing, because I was just going to be like, Sokoth, his eyes closed.
We're going to start
listen,
speaking Temerian now.
I gotta find rationalizations for things that they don't bother to explain because it keeps me sane.
Hey, I appreciate it because there's a lot of things that I don't venture into. Like I did not know that about Sikhs, and I think that's amazing. That's really cool.
Mhm.
So Kayshon shows up and is basically like, I'm here. We find out the translator doesn't do Temerian quite as much justice as we'd like, which for everybody out there, whoever wanted to RP to Temerian, well, your time has come. Because now you can speak Federation Standard.
Well, I would like. This is my question. Maybe I should save it a little bit more for the end, but this is what I would like to ask. How is it that a culture that speaks in metaphor like that have the intercommunication ability necessary to develop technology, to faster than light travel, et cetera, et cetera? To me, it just seems, and it's probably because I'm trying to rationalize it as a human who speaks English, but I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it.
My favorite explanation for this is that Temerian engineering and mathematical language is musical. And so they don't actually have words for the processes. They have tones and harmonies.
Big J, I just got to point out that you should go back and watch the riff track episode that was recorded about this very episode because
Okay.
we covered this topic in depth, sir.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
you did? Okay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what we boiled down to is partly is what Dag was just saying there, where their engineering stuff is either only written or like musical in a way that's not communicable the same way. And then their like everyday conversation language is this metaphorical, simile-based, expressive language with like a canon of stories, right? It'd be like trying to tell everything as a story related to the Bible, right? So it's like Jonah and the whale, right? Would be your now an analogy or something, right?
Okay, I get it. I can dig that.
Arthur, with his hands on the sword, his knees heavy, mom's spaghetti.
Big J with his mozzarella sticks in his mouth.
Wasn't that
Yeah.
last night?
That was Thursday night when we were
Right, man. That
talking
sounds
to our
like so
special
long ago.
guest in the episode.
What's
where
really
we were-
weird is the
ago.
audience is going to be like, wait, what are you talking about special guest? Because this episode was recorded after we recorded that episode, which is going to come out 3 days after this episode. So if you're listening, I hope you were able to follow us there.
Because I can't. You lost me.
We cut to the hallways of the Cerritos where, Team Beta has been chosen to hop over to this collector's ship and do the evaluation. And then they reminisce. What's Boimler up to?
But one small thing to point out, I really like the enthusiasm that Tendi had towards getting to work with Kayshon, because that's very Starfleet. Like, I've never met a Temerian. I'm so excited to work with one. Like that's a good wholesome kind of feel. I like that.
It's almost like that whole thing that Gene Roddenberry said about being able to take special delight in the diversity of others.
Mm-hmm. Precisely.
Well, that's
Look
just
at you,
Tindy.
Terry.
That's her character. She's just
Oh,
sweet as can
super
be.
bubbly. Yeah.
So Boimler, having been mentioned, is freaking out because apparently the Titan is now deeply engaged with the Packleds and has been for several months. Riker, cool as a cucumber, is just ordering maneuvers, and they kick their ass, and that's it's enough for Boimler to be very, very troubled by all of this. He ends up sitting through a. Do we go to that? Nope, we don't go to that.
Now, what do you think? You think the Packlids are going to be the main villain for this season? Are they propping them up as if they were like
I feel like they are
Klingons?
because they added them to the opening sequence.
Oh, that's true. Their addition to the opening sequence is nice. I'm hoping that they kind of like remain like this sort of background menace, the same way the Romulans were early in TNG. You're not like facing up against them. They're not the Dominion. But like if there's something going wrong, you start wondering, is this the Packleds? Are they doing this kind of thing? So I like that kind of build up more a bit. It's gives you more of a slow burn, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also Boimler does explain at the end of this episode. He does highlight the thing he doesn't like about, it was a really heavily serialized mission arc with plot twist
Complex
that kind of warped my
characters,
brain, which definitely not I don't think of that as a jab at DS9, and I know we're talking about the end of the episode now, but a lot of people have said like that's a jab at DS9 serialization, and I'm like, no, he's just saying that he prefers episode to episode.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Very self-referential. I like those.
It was meta. I liked it. So discussing the scene itself, though, right? So we get this cool moment where the Titan not just engages, but does this really acrobatic, neat combat maneuver, and then fires on the Pack-led. What did we call them? It's not a battleship. There was a name for them. What was it?
Harpies.
No, the Harpies are the fighters. The battle Harpies were the fighters. Yeah, whatever. The big Pack-led ship.
I know. I don't remember, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Either way, it looked really cool. It was nicely shot, and it shows that the Titan is not just a science ship as it's been alluded to in beta canon and in other works. It's actually straight up a combat ship, or at least it's being treated as such now. So
I like it being a combat ship. Well, it can kick ass as a combat ship. It's a bit smaller. I mean, the size of it to me looks like it's roughly around a Excelsior class size ish.
See, and I see it as more of an Akagi class. It's a small little scout ship thing.
It gives me a lot of Akira
no way,
vibes.
man. It's probably around the same size as the Akira, if not maybe a little bit bigger, just because of the hull shape. But yeah, it's a substantial ship. It doesn't look small in the slightest. The thing was being chased by 7 or 8 of those Harpies last episode. Remember the Little Fighters? So I don't know. It looks pretty beefy to me.
It does. Yeah.
Well, we need to see it next to a capital ship that we have a size 4. So, in any case, Kayshon and Beta Shift arrive at the transporter room, and what we end up with in the transporter room is a little bit of dialogue about the Temerian language and its some of its shortcomings, and they have a little laugh where they sort of align over "It's not no beast at Tanagra." They end up in the collector's area, and Davy Jones, I don't know what his name is. I'm just going to call him Davy Jones.
Let's go with Davy Jones. Why
Did
not?
they give him a name? I think they might have given him a name.
Davy Jones arrives and sort of is just the traditional sort of lacks empathy mercenary handler who's like, you need to get this stuff done ASAP because every second we're here, I'm losing money. But in the very scene where they beam down, there's already so much to break off that list. There's like before the transporter even finishes manifesting, what we see here is a Mars rover that's either Perseverance or Curiosity. We have a wall in the back that's got Lurpa and other Klingon weapons, and there's a fin coming down from above And that fin that comes down is the probe from the inner light. So that probe is just chilling in this guy's collection. It's almost like somebody on the inside of Starfleet. Like somebody's just siphoning off the Area 51 of Starfleet. It's cool.
Okay, I want to ask you this. How many times did you guys watch this first scene in the museum to see how many things you could pick out from 4 times? Wow. Okay.
4 times.
Yeah.
So to add a few more though, it's not just a Lirpa and a Batlith and a Mechlith. There's also an Ushan from Enterprise.
Yep.
And there's the weapon from the Jem'Hadar, the Karad Khan. So they've gone like deep into finding designs for things in this, even just on the one wall mount. It's crazy.
There was so much stuff. I thought I saw the medallion that Khan wore in Wrath of Khan, which was kind of like
it was. Did you see?
Which obviously should not be
from
there.
Data.
The what from Data?
The Data's painting of Spot that would have been destroyed in the Enterprise D.
Yes.
It's nuts. It's just Easter eggs, right? Like this isn't probably in-universe accuracy kind of stuff. It's probably just like summer fakes and such.
He's got Sulu's fencing sword. He's got the sword that was part of the Playmates Worf action figure that came out in 1993.
Oh my god, I had that toy.
It's just a little, like, it looks like a stick, but it's made of metal and it's just kind of edgy.
Yep.
Additionally,
he's got Mars rovers. He's got, I think it's Curiosity is which one it is, but
yep. And that's what the speculation is as well. There's a Terran Empire banner in here. There's Kales's fornication helmet, which looks like it was ripped out of Lord of the Rings. There's a great white shark. No known reason why that's there.
He couldn't get humpback whales.
Right. There's a hexagonal board game with little tiles on it, and I don't remember
It's
what
from
that
Voyager
board game is. It's not Catascot, is it?
It might be.
Is it Catascot?
That's what I was thinking. I know I've seen it. I recognize it. Okay, that was Voyager. Is that right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a Catascot board.
Any idea what the horse is?
So the unicorn is from Charlie X.
Holy shit! I don't remember Unicorn.
I don't remember Unicorn and Charlie X.
It's a reference to Charlie X. I think they mention, unicorns. There's that Betazoid gift box with Armin Shimmerman's face.
Saw that.
The very first thing I saw was the Addictive Funnel game, but they put the Addictive Funnel game onto the bust of Picard's head from the Pegasus.
Love that.
For Captain Picard Day.
There's an Arvis, it looked like.
A baseball bat. And a baseball, which was, Cisco's favorite thing.
Yep.
The M113 salt creature has been taxidermied here. An armless Greco-Romanesque statue that could have been present in the background of any number of TOS episodes. A trombone, which is Riker's preferred weapon. The necklace Khan made out of Starfleet insignias is here. The Catan probe from the Inner Light. Various weapons.
The Kurlan Nice Coast. There's so much.
The Kurlan Nice Coast from The Chase that was super important then, but then Picard just tossed aside for his photo album in Generations.
Right. Here, just pitch it.
Neelix's apron and toque are in here. A couple cases of Chateau Picard, sunglasses case, a torpedo tube.
Wow.
The isomagnetic disintegrators from Insurrection.
Worf's like bazooka. Interestingly enough, to cross genres here, Marty McFly's 2015 automatic Nikes are in here.
I saw that. Yeah.
Some people thought that they were Spock's boots from Star Trek V, but they got the red on them.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else said they might just be vintage Air Jordans. They may not necessarily be the Nikes.
Spare me in the pronunciation, but the Horgonons, whatever they're called, the Horgon from Ryza are there too. They've got several.
Data's Masaka mask from Masks. A Vulcan baseball cap from Take Me Out to the Holosuite. Data's painting of Spot from Inheritance. A wall diorama featuring an Excalibian and a skeleton dressed as Abraham Lincoln. A copy of Hotel Royale. The filter mask that Kirk tried to force upon the Troglodytes in violation of their individual freedoms in the Cloudminders. The probe left by the Valiant in Where No Man Has Gone Before. The suitcase used to safely carry the Medusan in Is There in Truth No Beauty. The mounted head of the Alpha 177 horned dog seen in Trelane's parlor in Squire of Gothos.
Data's visor from playing poker.
Yep. The isomagnetic disintegrator, as you mentioned, Captain Archer's water polo ball, a Trident scanner, the Howard Sex Genie candle from Sub Rosa. My favorite one that I laughed really hard on, Odo's regeneration bucket, is in there. A Horta egg, a Gorn skeleton, a Salat skeleton, a Mugato skeleton. It's so many things. And the last thing that I didn't want to mention, I'm not going to mention it till we get there.
Okay.
It's the most hilarious part of the show for me.
What was the drum kit? Any idea?
The drum kit?
Yeah, the drum kit.
There's like a drum set that I don't know what it might have gone to.
Well, the only time I recall that we ever saw any kind of drum kit in Star Trek was first episode of Lower Decks, season 1, when they were playing. They were rocking out in
that's true.
their lounge or whatnot. And I was trying to think also, okay, why would the drum kit be there? And
very front and center for it too.
There's something we're missing then about that. And I don't know what it is. And I don't think it's referencing the first episode of Lower Decks, because everything else is pulled from all across Star Trek. So I don't know, Dag, any ideas on that? You're the trivia master. What do you think?
I got nothing on the drums. That's why I'm the trivia master.
Yep. Well, I'm sure we'll think of
Somebody will
it
tell
later.
us. If you think of it, tell us in the comments. We'll look it up, and I'll go, duh, I should have known that, and that'll be great.
That's how it happens.
Cool. So now that we've gone through the laundry list of artifacts,
all of the stuff.
That was hell of a list, Dag.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't make it myself. I stole it from Reddit.
Oh, boo.
Hey, there are some people on Reddit. So this is from the guy named Antithesis with a Y instead of an I in that cis there.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks to them for that list, but also another user by the name of Panda Pundus has also assembled a full image gallery on Reddit that links to the items. The drum kit is actually there as part of it's in the Memory Alpha books. Jadzia Dax playing a Samoan drum. There's a drum set in a couple of other episodes too. So make of that what you will. Probably not any major specific reference, but yeah, they get told that they have a limited amount of time to figure this all out and leave. Meanwhile, back on why did I forget the name? Why is it just right back on Titan?
back in this,
The Titan. I was about to say the Doritos. I'm sorry, the Cerritos.
Back on Titan, Riker's having a briefing, and Boimler is just completely outclassed here. Everybody here knows way more about all the things that are happening, and it's really showing. Boimler may have earned this position, but he is going to be, fighting to catch up with these officers that are here.
Well, he's a fish out of water.
A little bit.
he's a junior grade like lieutenant, right? He's comparing himself to like a commander,
Commanders and a
lieutenants, and such,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? Like it is natural to be struggling to keep up with these people.
He's got 2 to 3 years to catch up all the way. In any case, Riker plans a sly assault where a team's going to go down to take out this mining institution that the Packlets have stolen.
On Carzil 4.
Mm-hmm. And Boimler's very much like, and I'm going to write all these things down. And Riker's like, you don't have to write that down. And he's like, I don't have to write that down. Boimler trying a little too hard.
I did like the design for the crew that we're seeing from the Titan. Every scene that we've seen with the Titan shows like basically different officers, which is nice because
Yes.
it shows you that the size of the crew a bit. Though this, I don't know if she's the XO, but she's at least a commander on the ship. I don't know what alien she is, but she looks awesome. Whatever the blue turquoise
Yeah.
chick is.
I think her alien race, they call her as a Mystique.
A Mystique. Interesting.
I think so.
Is that any kind of reference from X-Men?
Might be.
Don't think so, but I'm going to
Okay.
look it up.
Well, this is what I was hoping out of the crew of the Titan. Have any of you guys ever read the book, The Typhon Pact? Older books for Star Trek, and the Titan was featured in some of the stories. And there was, let's see, Tuvok was he the first officer, or he was
No, he
chief
was a
of
tactical
security?
officer.
Right. I was really hoping that they would pull from the books and have Tuvok on there, but they're treating us pretty well right now, so I won't complain about that yet. But it would be good if he did make an appearance.
Yeah, I agree. So some of the crew members from that ship are people that are really cool. It's not just Tuvok, it's also Ronald Carew, who is the ex-husband of Lieutenant Hawk, who died in First Contact. There's Christine Vale, his XO, etc. There's like a whole crew that's on the Titan, and they all have good history and background in the novels.
Well,
so it'd be cool to see them brought into the show, but I'm
apparently,
not expecting it.
Apparently, according to Memory Alpha, she's not officially named, nor is her species officially called out, but she is the first officer.
Okay. All right.
Cool. The name of the alien, the Collectors Guild alien, by the way, is Siggy.
Oh, Siggy. Okay, that's easy.
Mhm.
So they're going through documenting all of these things and having a nice chat with Siggy when they are moving what appears to be a torpedo casing. And when they set it down, it sets off an alarm.
Why would moving around a torpedo casing be significant, Dag? Like,
I don't know. That's just the last thing they did. They put down this torpedo casing, and it.
Why would somebody collect a random torpedo casing? Like, what could it be a reminder, a hint to, or an Easter egg of, Dag?
Exactly.
You have an answer, don't you?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a reference to Star Trek 3, obviously, but
do you really think it's a reference to Star Trek 3? I thought that was like Ira Graves or something.
If it's going to be, well,
if it's fan service Easter eggs, it's got to be Star Trek 3.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm thinking.
What if it's Jadzia's torpedo, dude?
Too soon.
Too soon.
Soon, come on. Jadzia's death is closer to Spock's death than she is to us.
Oh, okay, yeah. We'll have to go with you on that one.
We're old.
Jesus, yeah.
So it was pretty cool seeing them just like put it down and then suddenly everything goes to shit.
Yeah, in true Star Trek fashion, the shit hits the fan and off to the races for the episode.
The picture animates in a sort of what appears to be maybe a holographic style, and the Zybalian featured tells them that he's going to add everybody to his collection. That's always kind of fun, ain't it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like he needs more
strange energy shooting out of the eyeballs again. For a moment there, I thought
was
we were
very
much another God episode.
I was like, they're not going to do that again. Yeah, but the strange energy lances across the room, strikes our new Lieutenant Kayshon, and it cracks him up in lots of places. I was cringing, it hurt, and then he falls to the floor as a hand puppet, and I'm like, okay, well, that's new.
Wow.
And Siggy's first response is, do you have any idea how much that's going to be? It's going to be so valuable.
Yeah, that is the last thing I ever expected to see happen in a Star Trek episode, is for an officer to get turned into a puppet.
So I watch a lot of my Lower Decks episodes with a buddy of mine who has seen a smattering of Star Trek here and there, but he has not seen like the full canon of it.
Right.
He enjoys Lower Decks a ton, right? But he always asks me questions like, okay, now how often does that happen in Star Trek? Has that ever happened before? I know the show's a lot of, is that from Star Trek somewhere? And I'm like, yep. No, nobody's ever become a doll before in Star Trek that I can think of. You sure? I am certain it has, as far as I know, it has never happened before in Star Trek when he gets turned into a doll. So as far as I know, that's a first, and it's pretty funny. He's adorable too as a little doll.
He is. I thought it was hilarious, and it's really funny. Whenever he gets thrown as a doll, someone catches him. You hear that little squeak that a doll toy makes.
Yeah, somebody with a bunch of dog toys. I'm familiar with the squeaks.
That sound right there. Yeah.
They get chased by probes firing lasers. There's even one scene where a whole bunch of snaky things pop out of a case. I don't know what those snake things are.
Those, I don't think that was supposed to be anything but just a monster. Yeah, those things were very weird.
The swords that were firmly attached to yonder wall are now flying across the room at them. They attack the Greco-Roman statue. Mariner is defending against these laser blasts with the Lurpa. They have to
She's a
rescue
Jedi.
Kayshon. Yeah.
Jedi.
The Lurpa is made out of that metal that in Star Wars lightsabers can't penetrate.
Vibranium? No.
No.
No, it's Beskar.
Yeah, Beskar steals one of them.
Beskar is
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of them, but there's another one too.
Oh, there's another one besides Beskar?
There's a bunch. There's a bunch.
Cordite,
Yeah.
Cordite,
Oh.
something like that. Anyway, they have to rescue Kayshon from a case falling onto him, and that smashes on down. And we end up a little bit with Mariner and Jet having to face their leadership strategies, as Mariner's very much like, we have to get to the engine core and shut this thing down, and Jet's very much like, no, safety first, we have to get to the escape pods and evacuate. They end up going with that plan, trying to get to the escape pods.
After voting.
After voting, Tendi and Rutherford side with Jet, to Mariner's dismay.
I like their dynamic between their leadership styles. That's good to see, because you've got a person that's very much the offense and aggressive, going hard in the paint. That's Mariner. Then you have another person that's more of a let's pull back and do some defense and do it safe. I thought that was a great dynamic that they had between the two of them that we got to see in this episode.
Yeah, it's the same dynamic we see between Mariner and Boimler throughout the first season too, right? Like one of them is very conservative, the other one is very aggressive. You're right.
Yes.
And I think Jet actually does the role better than Boimler, because Jet is far more self-confident than Boimler ever has been.
Right.
So it was good to see somebody checking Mariner.
We flash on over to a shuttlecraft that's leaving the Titan, bound for the city, where the infiltration crew, featuring Boimler, are dressed up like miners, and they are discussing the Enterprise D and talking about how Riker must love it so much more on the Titan, where there's all this action to have, because the Enterprise D was just exploration and
With
Quartet.
5
5
daycares.
daycares. Yeah.
5 daycares.
music. You can have a jazz quartet today.
Can I just again say in protest that the whole having children and families on a ship like that is just, I think it's risky. I get what they were going for in the show, but practically speaking, I don't know. But
The Enterprise D spent most of its time doing diplomatic nursemaid runs, right?
Yep.
Safe runs from Federation place to Federation place. It's perfectly fine to have your family there.
when they didn't,
I mean, yeah, and it's equally dangerous on like a planet too in Star Trek, right? Like an asteroid comes out of nowhere and wipes you out. So like,
true.
probably safer on the Enterprise.
Probably.
The whole "it's safer to fly" concept.
Until Lursa
Yeah.
and Bator discovered Geordi's, visor has, and the shields have a frequency of 257 Mach 4,
Yeah.
and you get yourself blown up.
Don't get me started on that whole. Just okay.
Mutate the shield frequencies, Riker.
Yeah.
Still, it was anything that they changed, they would see through the same visor.
How about
So-
fire all the freaking phasers and torpedoes they had on that thing? The Galaxy class had basically a 360
Let's save
degree.
this for our generation
Okay.
review.
All right. Yep. You're right. You got to get me off this tangent, otherwise we'll
There
be here
you
all
go,
night.
everybody.
Yep.
That's our teaser for the Generations review. That may happen.
So it's good to see the crews, or the different views of the crews, right? Like the Titans crew is definitely battle hardened, so they are of a different opinion on things to poor Boimler, who's there just kind of miserable, like in this whole environment,
Yeah.
which was cool. And then we cut over to Freeman on the
Well,
bridge of the Cerritos.
You want to know
do you have more?
something else that I'm noticing between the shots of the Titan and the shots of the and maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe it's just the way things are lit, but the Titan has much more dramatic lighting for its characters than
Yeah, it's lit like Discovery is.
or DS9.
Yeah.
On the bridge of the Cerritos, Captain Freeman is going a little nuts. She really wants to micromanage this mission, but she's been told that she micromanages and she's not going to get a promotion if she keeps doing that.
She
Meanwhile,
doesn't like hearing that.
Ransom is going, you would have asked for a 4th status update right now. And she's like, nope, not going to do this. Kayshon's more than capable. He's fine. Slide on over to the
Hold
collector's
on.
abode.
The scene where she goes, I have never been a micromanager, and every single officer on the bridge looks the opposite direction at the same time.
Yep.
Perfect, because we've all been there with that kind of boss. We've all had that boss who's like, I would never meddle in my subordinates' things, and you're like,
Oh.
sure.
Hmm.
So that was a good scene.
Yeah, that really was nice.
Well, what else are you going to do besides? I'm saying micromanage is not a good thing, but this is a thought that hits me all the time about Star Trek. Is a lot of time where there's nothing going on. You're sitting on the bridge. What do you do during your 8-hour shift when you're flying somewhere? You can't surf the internet. There's no solitaire going on. So your captain is probably looking for something to do, and that's why she comes off as micromanaging.
I'm sure that they have so much to do during every 8-hour shift. Maybe they're writing reports or coming up with logs that they're working on for other things. I don't think they have a bored moment, really. At least maybe those overnight shifts, like the ones that where Harry Kim is playing his
Clarinet?
no, not clarinet. Yeah, his clarinet, maybe. But most shifts I don't think are going to be very boring.
Well, yeah. That's another tangent I don't want to get on.
Okay.
I'm full of tangents tonight. I don't know why.
There's definitely all kinds of regular operations that have to be maintained.
Right. Like we know that these people end up writing long ass reports about all these medical emergencies that they have, but we never see them sitting there really doing the research and writing the logs. So they've got to write them sometime.
If we're going to segue, let's talk about operations and only operations. But like the ops officer has a ton to do. It's the operations officer to make sure that all requisitions are collected from all department heads across the ship on a regular basis to make sure ship supplies are resupplied regularly.
Or the XO. He's constantly doing performance reviews of every member of crew under him and receiving those from all those under him. So it's crazy how much work Riker would have to do.
Now, in order for that operations officer to do their job, they have to coordinate with all of the department heads. And in some cases, they have to go as far down as section chiefs. Those section chiefs have to make sure everything in their section under their purview is accounted for. Anything that's not accounted for has to be explained. And any extra supplies that they need over the supply limit that they got the last time has to be explained. So this operations officer is basically like the tax guy running around the ship, making sure everybody is aligned before
and
they
Data
take.
was so perfect for it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, he was.
Then they take that report to the XO, and then the XO gets to look over it, hand back some revisions, and then the operations officer has to go back to all those people and get those revisions handed back to the XO in a certain amount of time. Once the XO signs off on that report, the XO and the captain have a meeting, and they talk about all those things, and that's really freaking boring.
Yeah.
And if the captain has any revisions, he hands it back to the XO, who hands it back to who?
The operations
Ops officer again. Yep.
Who has to go and do this every freaking month. So everybody's got to be on the up and up all the time. And that's just operations. We're not even talking about helm engineering, science. All of that stuff has to be tracked and maintained and tested.
So if the D had 3 shifts, right? Let's say you've got 3 8-hour shifts going on concurrently, right? Some of that time is going to have overlap because they're going to have like transition times between shift A to B and then B to C and C to A. Cool. That makes sense. So there'll be higher staff. And you've also going to have some time during your day where you're just going to go do paperwork, essentially. It's your logs, all your staffing things. Then you've got your personal time, and then you've got sleep. So these people have very busy days. This isn't going to be like I'm going to sit on the bridge and like play solitaire. It's more of like oh shit, we're not under attack. Oh shit, there's nothing wrong. Let me get ahead on this other thing that I have to turn into my chief before I have to do it, and then I can sleep longer.
Security is running security drills, making sure all the weapons on the ship are tested and accounted for. Have to make
or
sure
inventing new weapons like Malcolm loved to do.
Well, yeah, but that's also overlap with the science lab.
Yeah.
And they have to requisition energy supplies and materials for
and time on devices, like time on the deflector dish for experiments.
Good
and such.
point.
And then there's a maintenance log to make sure every single torpedo is, got all of its guts are in working order. So if they need to be called on, there's a whole lot to do on a ship that we don't get to see in Star Trek. We could make that its own episode too.
Thank God we don't have to see this, right? Like there's got to be so much menial work that's just done by lower decks officers that we just don't have to worry about. Like seeing Mariner scrubbing carbon filters from some device last season, right? Like that's something we've never cared about because it's just handled
Right.
behind the scenes, but
Right.
it's work.
Yep. So yeah, Carol says those things. She's like, Kayshon can handle himself. I'm sure everything is fine. Flash over to the collector's log. Everything is not fine. There are lasers firing and claws grabbing and systems breaking and a giant like non-organic attractor tries to pull Rutherford's mask or head thing off of. They finally break it and end up in a museum. I was like, hey, welcome to Animal Crossing, because it's like that museum where you've got all the little dinosaur skeletons. Whole lot of skeletons in here, including one giant humanoid wearing a blue science officer shirt from the 23rd century.
Mhm.
Yes, we got a mention of him last season. This is the fate of Giant Spock.
Poor
From-
giant Spock.
The animated series episode, The Infinite Vulcan, where Spock is cloned into a giant 50-foot self. And sometime in the last 120 or maybe 15 years or so, that Spock came to an end and his body ended up in the collection of this guy.
That was
And
such an
considering
awesome
the fact
reference.
it's- Yeah, I love the references in this scene. But considering the fact that it's still wearing the old TOS uniform, probably died more than 100 years ago, too.
Yeah.
It's probably been dead quite some time, but this is actually why I don't think that everything in this guy's collection is legit. Yes, he's a collector. He's not like the character from Marvel. He's just a collector, right? I'll bet you that there's like 7 or 8 people claiming to have the real giant Spock skeleton. And they all have them up on stilts somewhere inside of their museums, and nobody's going through it like the Shroud of Turin to be like, which is the real one? Because they all want to claim to have the real one. It's got to be something like that.
Right. Who has the real Infinity Gauntlet?
Or you can
Exactly.
even go darker and say that the original 50-foot Spock left the world however long ago, and somebody came down and needed something from that scientist who was on that world, and they just started cloning 50-foot Spocks.
Oh my
That's
god.
dark.
Money.
That's dark.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Whew. We find out in this sequence that the reason why the alarm went off in the first place is because Siggy stole Kalis's face condom, his fornication helmet.
Seriously, I can't believe we have a fornication helmet.
You don't? How do you?
I just
You have to have a fornication helmet. Everybody does.
Yeah.
I don't have a freaking fornication helmet. Do you?
This one's mine.
Oh, your DS9 hat? Well, I mean,
It'll definitely prevent you from having any fornication. It's like perfect defense.
It's perfect protection.
perfect
every time.
deterrent. Yeah, just the women will just run from you fast. I guess maybe my fornication helmet could be a Santa Claus hat. I don't know, or a wreath.
Well,
Well,
there-
while Siggy is showing off his ill-gotten gains, he takes a couple awkward steps backwards and trips a laser sensor and then gets smashed to bits by a falling giant skeleton of Spock.
Yep,
But maybe he was okay, and then the skull falls on it too, and make sure that there's nothing
not
left.
okay.
Maybe his helmet saved him. Nope.
And then the flying Roombas show up, and it looks like they're ready to clean up this mess. But Mariner's rude to one, and they all decide to go psycho and suck everybody to death. Well, I'm so glad this is an adult show.
So what are they going to do? Suck us to death?
Yes!
They're going to suck us.
They run towards a diorama of an Excalibian with a skeleton of Abraham Lincoln.
I thought
from the
that was
Savage
Abraham.
Curtain. And they pile up all the bones as a barrier, and we head back over to.
Another point, though, for this, the Excalibur skeleton that he's got there doesn't look at all like the Excaliburs in the one episode. It doesn't look right at all. It's very clearly like a shoddy taxidermy reconstruction kind of thing. So it's like more reason to be suspicious of this guy's collection, in my book.
I like
Okay.
to think that this is sort of re-envisioning of maybe the original drawings, because they did that with the Gorn on Enterprise, where they sort of re-envisioned the Gorn as lither, faster, more Velociraptor style.
Maybe.
And
Another species I find it hard to believe that developed advanced technology in warp travel. But again, that's another tangent. I don't want to go on.
and the Melkotians also had a or not the Melkotians, sorry, the Tholians had a bit of an upgrade in Enterprise as well. So I tend to think that maybe the actions in the Savage Curtain were a little more underwhelming as opposed to fully
What
exhausting.
about that TAS shape-shifting alien that they copied over for last season? They didn't modify that dude to look at all. He looked just like the same one. The face stealer?
Mm-hmm.
The Vendorian?
Yeah. I feel like the producers for Lower Decks aren't going to make changes just to update things willy-nilly. I think that they're trying to be as earnest towards older appearances and older canon as they can. So I think that
and
this
that's why I feel
diorama
like,
is goofy.
well, I like the diorama because that in and of itself is a callback to TOS's backgrounds whenever
Absolutely.
they land anywhere. But I want to do some more research, and I'll get back to you guys on this. But I
Okay.
really feel like they probably pried some original illustrations for the Excalbian and said, okay, we'll do that as what the original drawings were.
Mm-hmm.
And the TOS show that aired 50 years ago, couldn't do that in the budget. So it was just a rock.
I'll take it.
Anyway, they barricade themselves in that diorama. We head on down to the mining world where Boimler has been grouped up with all the other miners that the Pack-Leds are taking over. He's like, don't worry, guy, we'll get out of here. And the miner's like, dude, you are so obviously Starfleet. Your hands don't even have calluses on them.
They're so soft and clean.
As the Pack-Leds lead away, the team tries to infiltrate even further, but they realize they need to take out this weird silhouette that might be keeping guard. But they knock it over, and it's a whole bunch of cheese puffs. And then you hear from the top of the pile, "Hey, those guys are stealing our snacks!" And they open fire. Did you notice what they opened fire with, Renzo?
Klingon disruptors.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
You saw it too.
Yes.
That's great. They run down a pathway to what we don't get to know what.
More importantly, did you see what their snacks were? It wasn't
Cheese
just
puffs.
cheese puffs. It wasn't just cheese puffs.
I only saw
Jerky and Slim Jims.
Was
I
it
am-
really?
Yes, I'm only surprised that they didn't have like Doritos and like Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
Like
I
just
my-
go straight at it.
If there would have been
Did you
Doritos
see
and Mountain
the
Dew in that,
jerky?
I think I
don't
would have
know
just
if those are Slim
retired.
Jims. They look like pretzel sticks to me.
Okay, pretzel stick still.
But
Okay,
hey,
could be pretzel
yeah,
sticks.
definitely cool. Definitely cool.
Snacks.
And we cut again back over. You know, Lower Decks does this thing where they don't waste a minute of time on stuff.
Well, they don't
So
have
there's a
much
lot
time
of
to waste.
cuts between
Short
scenes where
episodes.
you only
Yeah.
get like 60 to 90 seconds in one place or another. So
Mhm.
we're back on the Collector's ship. So far, we're safely barricaded from the killer Roombas. And Jet and Mariner are basically discussing their leadership issues. When they're like, you guys, what would you do? And Tendy's like, hey, well, you know what? Excalibian bones turn into acid when they get overheated, so we could actually use that to cut through the wall. And Rutherford's like, yeah, that'll lead right to the engineering conduits, so we can take those straight to the evac pods. We should have done that first. And Mariner and Jet are like, why didn't you say that? And they're like, because you were in charge. So, you know, the importance of listening to the entire team as opposed to just making executive leadership calls. Once again, we flash back on over to the mining colony. Looks like the infiltration team has found the main engineering area. The importance of listening to the entire team. I forget what they're trying to do.
They're trying to escape at this point. They've been caught, so they're just calling. They get called by Riker, who's just arrived into the system,
right.
and it's like, what's going on? And
They
they're-
can't beam up because there's like an ion disruption something.
There's always a
in the air.
disruption field.
Every time I think of ion anything, I'm like, mirror universe. Mirror universe. We're going to go into the mirror universe.
Well,
thought
I
this
would
one
be.
had a fun ending for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Don't spoil that one yet. That's going to be a good one.
So we end up having to fight the Pack-Leds while Boimler is confused. He's like, no, I really like what they did on the Enterprise D, and I totally want to be in a string quartet. And
He-
then
he
the
would be.
whole infiltration team is very much like, thanks, Boimler, for reminding us what it means to be in Starfleet. I wanted to join to study Moss.
And the other guy just wanted to be transported around a lot, beaming. He liked beaming.
He just wanted to be transporter chief, like the best Starfleet officer in Starfleet. What's his name?
Miles O'Brien.
Oh, is that his name?
Miles will
Well,
always suffer.
so while they are trapped in this room and the evil Packleads are coming to get them, instead of turning on the saw that they have, they just use the saw as like a bludgeon through the door. So the Packleads, they may be more advanced, they may have cooler ships now, they may be getting supplies or support from someone, but they're still stupid. They don't even know how to use a saw.
They
Amen.
closed the door, hit it with a saw. Clang, clang.
They got through the door eventually.
They sure did.
They have brute strength in place of finesse. That's what they have. So flash on again back to the collector's place where Rutherford and Tag.
You skipped a bit though. That discussion about like why they joined Starfleet is what inspires Boimler to go do something, right? The whole, yeah, didn't you know that Riker did this, and then he got a clone made out of him, and then he did this, and then he runs off to go play with the computer.
That is true. That is true.
Which I thought was pretty well done. But then we cut back.
Yep. Rutherford and Tendi do what they need to do with the Excalbian bones and cut on into the engineering conduits right away. We take Lieutenant Kayshon onto a evac pod. Captain Freeman is pacing on the bridge, and she's like, "I'm sure everything is fine." When Barnes is like, "Captain, 2 evacuation pods are coming from the collector's ship." What happened? Where's Lieutenant Kayshon? This is what happened when I don't take status reports. And that is a quick cut back to the mining station where Boimler is rapidly working at a console to try and disrupt this ion thing that's happening so that the infiltration team can get beamed up. 3 of them do, and then the Packleads storm Boimler's location in the mining colony. The Titan's transporter officer tries to beam him up again. They strengthen the pattern buffer, and they beam a Boimler aboard. And about 8 seconds later, when Riker's like, "All right, get us out of here, go to warp," he gets a call from the bridge saying that our shuttle is coming from the surface. And Riker says it might be a Packlead trap, because Packleads are known for traps. And they beam the occupant aboard, and it turns out it's original Boimler. The original Boimler made his way back to the shuttlecraft and escaped the planet, but the beam out through that disruption field caused a transporter clone, just like Thomas.
The transporter officer used a second angular confinement beam, which had been done when Riker was in danger of being trapped on that planet, and Geordi pointed out that that person really didn't need to do that, but hindsight's 2020. Now, what makes you say that the original Boimler was the one that ended up being left, was the double that was left there and got on the shuttle and escaped?
What makes me say that is original Boimler, I believe, is the one who went back to I'm just forgetting everything. I don't even know why.
So I agree with you. So the second one who gets beamed to the ship is the one who took the shuttle up. So he's the original, right? Because he got left behind, right? So thinking of how transporters work, Big J, right? It takes a person from A and puts them at B, right? So if the second one, so if the first attempt fails, they try again, right? And instead of taking the person with you, you leave a person behind. That means you made a copy of the person who is at point A. If the person who is left at point A is the one who takes the shuttle back, that's the original, right? Does that make sense?
Well, no. And the reason I'm going to say no is because if you apply that to what happened in Riker's case, the one that was left behind was
the original
Thomas.
The original Riker.
Yeah.
Kind of warps the brain a little bit to think about how the Riker that we've been along the whole side was the transporter clone the whole time.
Are you serious? Oh man, that just
so depressing.
Yeah, like I'm having an existential
There's
crisis
nothing
right
wrong
now.
with being a transporter clone.
Really? The original? Okay,
It's not like they're going to take him to the farm, even though Boimler is the one who's had the most transporter accidents in the show so far. In any case, the duplicate Boimler and regular Boimler have a talk in front of Riker, who pulls his normal leg up on the furniture pose.
I love
that.
that pose.
And he says that Starfleet can't have two of you serving on one ship, so one of you needs to go back to the Cerritos, and you'll be an ensign again. One Boimler steps forward after making eye contact with the other Boimler and says, "Yes, sir, I'll do it." And as soon as the other Boimler doesn't step forward, Boimler A is like, "Wait, you were supposed to step forward and take the fall." It's like, "No, I kind of want to be here. It's cool."
But you gave me a nod. I
It's
don't
just
know.
a transporter clone thing. So,
Yeah, it's one of those complicated things where you just don't know what the characters are thinking the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This might be an evidence of not only is this a Riker-like transporter clone, but it could very much be like an enemy within transporter clone, where the more ambitious and bold Boimler that stayed on Titan may eventually turn into an evil Boimler.
Oh, okay.
Well, one of them did have much more evil-looking hair for a moment there when they first beamed up. So
So you're thinking
looking hair.
we're going to have confrontation with
one was
Boimlers.
more messed up than the other.
I had to
I mean,
watch
the one,
again.
The one
It's-
that was beamed up with the messy hair was the one who had to fight his way through Packlets to get back to the shuttle. The
Right.
original.
Right.
Right. So which one stayed on the Titan? The original or the transporter clone?
The transporter
That-
clone stayed
I don't
on
think
Titan.
we know. I don't think we know which one
You're,
stayed.
you're right. I think
We
after
do because he mentions it when he gets back to the Cerritos. So my transporter clone gets to stay on Titan while I'm here.
I think that they would both consider the other to be the transporter clone.
correct. Yeah. The other, because think about that. Let's say that happened to you, and you would think that the other you is the clone, but he would think, no, you're the clone. So you're going to just have this kind of clone crisis where you both think that you're the original, and you're both pointing the finger saying, no, you're the clone. Could you
I
imagine?
would be interested in knowing where the ship got the mass to create my body.
Just energy. You don't need mass. Just turn it into energy.
Right,
Or
but
from
if
energy.
it's just energy from where?
Poop. We've been over this. Remember Discovery?
Yeah.
All the food?
You're eating poop. Yeah, no, I get that. It's just that it would seem to me that if that energy had been used to create a transporter clone, then you'd be able to have a time signature in the pattern buffer about this energy came in and it was reconstituted. No energy came in and we reconstituted here. Because, laws of thermodynamics, you have to have in and out. Unless the Heisenberg compensators also break the laws of physics again by allowing energy to be created out of nothing.
No. I'm sure that they have energy left over from something else. Like,
Yeah.
this is the leftover plates from the 13 ensigns underground. Like, these are the plates, right? We turned the plates back into energy. So that energy was floating around and we used it to reconstitute your body. There you go.
Would it be fun to have had yourself cloned like that, or no?
There should
You
still
should read
be a
the metaphysics
timestamp.
of Star Trek.
What's that, Rento?
You should read the metaphysics of Star Trek.
Okay.
It is a book on the philosophy of being transported, essentially. They have a whole section on just that. It's really good.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
good. All right.
There was a book that came out in the 70s called Spock Must Die because there was a transporter clone that was created.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just think I would be freaked out if I was cloned. Really, I wouldn't know what the hell to do.
You can always, play chess with yourself, see who wins. The one who wins is the one who gets to live.
I'm thinking something more practical, like we both get a different job and just pull our resources together in one big bank account.
Yeah.
The IRS might object to this.
IRS has nothing on the books for sudden clone. So hey,
What's the IRS gonna do? I have this. I am me.
right.
Use
I'm paying my
card to get another
taxes.
Job. The IRS might be like, "How are you working 2 full-time jobs?" And I'll be like, "Cause."
Because I have to do that to live.
Speaking of transporter weirdness, hi Tuvix.
Yeah, Tuvix is demanding attention at the moment.
there's your doggy again.
If you're listening to this, you should check out the VOD at this time because you get to see an adorable dog.
I like
Trying
your
to
dog.
climb up me.
Well, he wants to be
Boing.
part of the show.
It's true.
Boimler gets a send-off from Riker before the doors close, and Riker offers other Boimler a glass of Romulan ale, which other Boimler
William
like, I'll get used to it.
Boimler.
William Boimler.
Kiss ass.
Bradward William Boimler. Other Boimler heads to the shuttle bay where the senior staff gives him a send off, says he's pretty cool. Head on back over to the Cerritos. We're in med bay. Poor Kayshon, he's in a med bed, and he has a sign on him that says, "I am not a doll. Do not play with me." And Miggly Moo just blatantly ignores that.
And Tiana
Dr.
gives him a piece of her mind,
Ta'ana's-
which was nice.
Read the sign. Head on back to the mess hall, where the cool foursome are chilling, and we get an explanation to a long-standing issue in Star Trek, where we discover that anytime in Star Trek anybody has ever had a problem with their rank pips, it's usually because it's a kernel of street corn. Mystery solved.
And now, whenever we have these problems in the future, we can always refer back to this as the explanation, which is perfect. This is what I want out of Star Trek. Give me plausible explanations that don't make me have to argue with people.
Street corn, which is delicious in and of itself. If you haven't had street corn and you have access to street corn, get street corn.
I've never heard of street corn.
Mariner is counting her blessings with Jet, saying, "Wow, you're such an amazing guy," before she sees Boimler, and she basically kicks Jet to the curb because she's so happy to see her friend
She stiff-armed the
who
guy.
abandoned her. Boimler gives a little bit of an apology, and then Jet just kind of disappears into the background because everybody no longer wants anything to do with him, which is kind of sad.
It is.
Mariner
Sure, he'll be around.
Mariner pushes Brad out of the booth and says, "Shots are on you, and you're going to be getting shots until I say so to make up for what you did." And the scene ends with Lieutenant Kayshon cozying up to a young woman at the bar and saying, "Hey, are you tired? Because you've been Ankara at the race on Celeste through my head all day." And she just politely gets up and walks away.
Ooh,
Swing and a miss.
We're on the same wavelength there, Renzo. Swing and a
Yeah.
And he says, what does he say?
Oh.
Sokath. No.
Sokath, his eyes.
It was a. I thought of it and I just forgot it was one of the known
it was a little bit of a
phrases.
jibe.
But yeah. And that was it. That was the end of it, wasn't it?
Solid episode, but yeah.
Okay, I want to go back just real fast before we wrap
Yes.
up. Now, cloning notwithstanding, did you notice that the Boimler that got to stay on the Titan, there was a quick divergence in personality?
Mm-hmm.
It was like that. That's definitely going to be a Boimler that will. But why would he suddenly be different? Just because you got transporter cloned doesn't mean that a couple hours later you're going to have this 180 in how you act and behave in your personality.
So my theory, and I think Dag is going to disagree, but my theory is that the one who's become confident is the one who fought his way out of the pack-led camp on his own. And just that like personal accomplishment of fighting his way out of the pack-led camp has given him some self-confidence. And so that's the one that decides to stay because he fits in better with that crew anyways.
Well, based on your logic, the original is that one.
Yeah. I think that's the original one that stays, but I don't think that they've confirmed it either way.
Well, but
And it's in Boimler's character to be like, because he got busted down to Ensign and back to the Cerritos, it's in that lack of confidence of that character to be like, yeah, I guess I am the transporter clone.
I would be surprised if the original is left on the Titan and the show is going to be showcasing the Boimler that is the clone that got. And then who was it that laughed at him about getting transporter cloned? Oh yeah, it was
And
Mariner.
he and Rutherford had
They had a bet. And the way they said it was like, something that happened. It's like, oh, you got transporter cloned. As if it's not common or uncommon, I guess.
He's had so many transport accidents already. I mean, I'm not terribly surprised.
Yeah. So I think that, and I get your reasoning behind the original Boimler is the one still on the Titan, But
I just
why?
don't think we're going to follow the Titan much anymore. Now that Boimler's back on the Cerritos, I think we might see and check in on the Titan every now and then, but I don't think we're going to get the same thing we've gotten for the first 2 episodes where it's just like constant back and forth.
But why would they have non-original Boimler be the one on the
Because we
Cerritos?
had non-original Riker for 7 seasons on the Enterprise D.
Ah, shit, damn it! You keep getting me with that. Yeah,
I mean, technically,
I
we've
walked
got
right into it.
non-original Riker on the Titan right now.
And we had non-original Harry Kim for like 5 seasons on
Oh.
Voyager 2.
Yeah, you're right. Well, and for the
Yeah,
last
he was a
season of
Parallax
Voyager, that wasn't even the Harry Kim that we had known up to that point. He was a clone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm talking about the Vidian one, right? Like early
Yes,
on.
correct.
I don't remember. Yeah. There's been a lot of times where we just don't have the original, whatever original means. So part of the reason why I want you to read that book, Big J, is because one of the points that they argue is that every single time you are transported, you are a clone of your original one, and the transporter machine kills the original version in the process.
Yeah,
right?
I've heard that one.
So that's an argument towards that there is no original version when you transport every single one. They are genocide machines. They create a copy and kill the original every time. So Starfleeters may just not have any sort of like care towards which is the original really. I don't know. Maybe it's something that they're over. It's a philosophical moot point kind of thing.
It probably is. Like, okay, guys, we don't care who the original is or the one that's cloned. There's 2 of you. Someone needs to go over here to point A. Someone needs to go over to point B. Just figure it out. You know, you can be roommates. You guys can all have the same hobbies or go your separate ways. Who gives a shit? But we're not going to sit here all day fighting over who's the quote unquote original and who's the transporter cloned.
But to
The
add
other-
credence to that, there's a line of dialogue that occurs right after second Boimler is beamed off the shuttle. Second Boimler shows up and says, "Oh man, a copy of me got transported out." Boo! And then the one who beamed up first, goes, "I'm the transporter clone." Boo! So there is something there to say that the one who got beamed out first has already acknowledged the transporter clone. And Renzo, I really like your theory that the one who had to fight his way out. You know, are we going to see the flashback to that and how much more like Mariner he had to be in order to do that, and all that learning that he got in the first season?
Though
And
your
that's-
theory that it might be an enemy mine situation where the other clone kind of slowly becomes like a megalomaniac is interesting too, right? Like imagine if later in the season we get like a
Enemy Within.
Enemy Within, you're right.
Enemy Mine is a 1986 movie starring two really cool people that we probably both like.
Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Point was it's the evil Kirk
Yes.
version, right?
Right.
So it's that approach. It's that approach towards this. So it may be that Titan version of Boimler, William Boimler will take over the Titan and attack the Cerritos, and that's like our season finale
boy.
where they realize that kind
Oh,
of thing,
boy.
right? Like that could totally happen.
Wait, hold on. There was a scene in the trailers that showed Boimler assimilated.
No
the
spoilers.
board.
I didn't watch the trailer.
I
You
didn't
know me,
see
I don't
that
watch
either.
trailers.
Don't do that.
Come on, Dag. Dag
Now
on it,
you
Dag.
know. But I'm pretty sure this isn't an Enemy Within issue because neither Boimler had an overdose of eyeliner like Evil Kirk.
No goatees either. So they're definitely not Mirror Universe copies either.
That's definitely true. And the purple is still the same shade of hair, so we're good there.
Yeah, neither of them seem to be affected by the bright lights all over the Cerritos. So also good.
Lower Deck Season 2 is continuing its trend of packing in an hour of a show with no fat into 24 minutes. The dialogue is always spot on. It's the epitome of Chekhov's gun. Everything has some semblance of meaning in an episode that's pointed out like this. So
So if you guys, I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but I just put up our Beyond Track hotline. Would love to get a call from anyone in our audience who wants to weigh in on the whole transporter clone thing or just transporter accidents in general, or who you think the original Boimler is and which one was the one cloned. So the number here is 513-279-2344. Would love to hear your thoughts on just the episode in general, and talk about maybe even our philosophical debate that we're having now. So that's 513-279-2344. I love giving this pop quiz. What is the significance of 2344? Anyone? Bueller? It was the year that the Enterprise C was destroyed and its crew captured. And it was also, wasn't it, Dag, I think you told me it was, someone was born that year also, because when I asked you
Year
this.
after.
Right.
Worf was born in 2345.
Yep. Well, I know one thing's for sure. I would not want to be transporter cloned. Would you guys? I mean, if you had the chance, would you want to have another one of you, a clone of you, out there? And if so, who gets to live in the house or apartment that you're in now? Because as far as both of you are concerned, it's yours. So how does that get sorted out?
I have a 3-bedroom. He can sleep in the other room.
Oh, don't cheat.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, give me a second copy. He'll work 2 days a week. I'll work the other 2 days a week. We'll take shifts on the third day, and we can just take our time. Like, you've got an extra room. Like, we can make room. We can both make this work.
Kind of like
Couldn't both of
multiplicity.
you working together make more money?
Yeah, we can start our own company.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sure the employer would love to try to come up with how to reconcile that. Like, well, we've got a clone on the payroll, and I don't know. Well, it depends on the job, because if they don't need another you to do the exact same thing to fill in a position, and if someone has to go find another job, that takes us kind of right back to, all right, well, if one of you has to go get another job, who is it? Who's going to be the one that's got to do that?
Listen, I'd rather be faced with the problem of having too much labor to distribute than being like at home and being unable to like, okay, well, I got to work today. I got a podcast today. I got to do this. I got to do that. I've got 30 things to do today.
Press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Oh,
To
wait, hold on.
accept, press 1.
All right, we're accepting a call. Hello?
Hi, it's Dag.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Dag. Thanks for calling. You're so weird. Wait, is this evil Dag? So you're going to be the clone Dag that talks on the phone.
Yes, I'm the transporter clone.
You could have. That was your chance to do like an evil voice or something.
This is
like
evil voice, obviously.
Well, yeah, close.
I'm the real Dag! The other Dag hit me with a foot.
Oh, you know what would be fun? We should just randomly call someone and just be like, hey, what would you do if you were cloned?
No, we can't do that on the show.
Why?
Needs consent.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Even if it's like someone you know, like a friend or something?
Yeah.
That sucks.
I mean, I would consent.
Would you hang
but
up
I'm
the
here.
phone? You're already here. Dweeb.
Yeah, the problem is that if we were all in like Virginia, we could call anybody in Virginia and be like, hey, what do you think of X? Because Virginia is a single party consent state for recordings. Same thing for in Ohio. Ohio isn't only a single party consent state. We're all in Ohio.
Oh boy.
But because we're calling outside of each other's states and like this is, trans states, it's not easy. It requires two parties.
I would do it anyway because, again, like I said last week to Dag about if we got some kind of cease and desist for using Saturday Night Live stream or SNL, that's good. That's press. Good press, bad press, gets your name out there. So, yeah.
Far be it for me to go into the philosophy of ethics or anything like that, but just because a state is single-party consent doesn't mean I'm comfortable recording people anyway.
Fair.
Well, but if you tell them that they're being recorded as soon as you call them.
Yeah, sure. Be like, hey, Mom, you're on the show now.
Right.
How
That's
you
all.
doing?
That's all you got to do. I mean, you don't have to fax any forms over and be like, hey.
Dag would be the one in trouble here because Dag is also in a two-party consent state. So if he was involved in it, he'd actually be committing a crime too. So it wouldn't just be a federal one; it'd be a state crime for him.
Oh shit!
Would the state have to press charges even if my mom was like, it's fine?
It depends on if you've been doing your chores. I don't know.
Boy. I've been out of the house for 20 years. That's a lot of chores.
Did you get her something for Mother's Day and for her birthday?
mean,
Are you up to date on that?
Wiretapping is what we're talking about. Quite literally is what that's called. If you record somebody without their consent, it's called wiretapping. So I mean,
Wow.
We're talking about creating our own Watergate or something. Or no, J. Edgar Hoover. He was wiretapping
Hey,
him.
did you guys catch the LDS reference in this episode?
Yes. Yeah.
Or in the last episode? Sorry. When Tendi is chasing Rutherford through the streets and he's like, or they're through the ship, and she's like, "You have SMD," and he's running through and he's like, "I don't care if I have LDS," and she's like, "SMD."
Yeah.
You get that LDS reference from Star Trek 4?
I caught that one. Well, if you guys, it doesn't look like we're going to get any takers this time around on a discussion, talk about the show, but that's
How many people
okay.
do you see in the chat?
I do not see that. Two. Okay, we've got two that stayed with us. Well,
I'm one of them. Renzo's the other.
You guys are chewing up bandwidth by having YouTube going while. Oh my God, you guys.
Yes.
I mean, somebody's got to monitor the chat just in case.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm here.
Okay, I guess. Right.
We're adorable.
Sorry, my IT brain is just like, yeah. Why would you tie up the bandwidth like that? But anyway, so good show, great episode. My final thought on this is, I liked it a lot better than the first episode. I felt like this was an episode we were able to talk and discuss a lot about, and I knew we were going into it, that it was going to be full of stuff. Before talking about the first episode, I had a feeling, I knew going in that, this just was not that good of an episode. I don't think it's going to be a long discussion. It was just sort of, but.
I mean, we could have gone way more into detail about those ships at the beginning that Mariner was breaking through.
Yeah,
this is all my fault. I should have been there last week. I'm sorry. I had a birthday, my birthday. What can I tell you?
Can't you schedule your birthday parties around? I mean, come on.
I'll do my best. Next year around, I'll try and schedule my birthday for not my birthday, so it'll be fine that way. But no, I actually really would have spent quite a bit of time just going through that opening scene. I thought that opening scene was incredibly well done. I thought that the ships that they decided to pull out of Beta Cannon were great. I thought that those not Hidekis looked really cool. I could have given it some fluff there. I would have beefed up the episode.
You know what we should have done? We should have called you for a little bit during the... damn. Missed opportunity. Oh, well. Well, Dag, what do you think of this one?
I really like this episode just because I was talking about it earlier. I think that Lower Decks tickles my nostalgia bone in a way that's still new and refreshing. And it really is my kind of humor. I am totally down with it. I'm going to give it 20 Kalis fornication helmets out of 10.
So I also really liked the episode. I thought it was pretty fun. I thought it was good. Like generally happens with Lower Decks, I think that the season just keeps getting better as it goes, right? So if you didn't like that first episode, Big J, I'm sure that the season as a whole will get better. I think that the first episode of the first season was actually one of the weakest episodes of the show. So, I give this show more time. I'm happy with it either way. I'd give this episode 2 great white whales out of 2 humpback whales.
Oh, okay. Nice.
2 great white sharks out of 2 humpback whales. Bad. Yeah.
I think I would give it 5 Enterprises out of 7.
Okay.
It's another Enterprise.
One of the best lines from this whole show.
That was
Hey,
great.
Jay,
Yeah.
do we have people to thank?
Oh, I am sorry. Yes, you're right. Good call on that, remembering. So, excuse me, would like to thank our contributors. We've got Stephanie Baker, who is a Patreon and Anchor contributor, S. Tam for Patreon, Anne Marie for Patreon as well, and Jim Cook for Anchor. Thank you very, very much for the support that you show for Beyond Trek Podcast. And you can find us on patreon.com. That's at Beyond Trek. We're also on Twitter, which Dag is running the Beyond Trek Twitter universe. Facebook.com/Beyond Trek Podcast and Instagram.com/Beyond Beyond Trek Podcast. So all you have to do is go on the internet, go on Google, and put in those 3 words, Beyond Trek Podcast, and you'll see us all over the place, basically.
You can also find our handles right here in the video chat. I'm at Trek Nexus on Twitter if you want to talk to me personally, but I'm always available for hanging out on Twitter. And we're really glad to have you with us. Thanks so much for being a part of our audience. And thank you for coming to episode 2 of Saturday Night Live Stream. Sue us.
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your